Oh, what's up, peeps? Sorry. I was looking at, I don't know if you guys know about what Rift Tracks is. It's the guys who used to do Mystery Science Theater 3000. They actually do something online solely called Rift Tracks now. So I was looking to see what horror movies they have riffs for. So, yeah. So anyway, what up? Oh, Kenny, drinking coffee. What type of coffee do you drink, if you don't mind me asking? Kenny, hey. Marshall, hey. Uncle Pete, hey. Heather, hey. John, hey. What's going on, everyone? Marshall, I love your phrase of noise. Love it. It's very East Coast of you to say it that way. Noise. I'm actually not far from Baltimore, so there are all sorts of interesting ways that people say things in my area, especially down in the Dundalk area. It's accents, man. Something. Oh, Uncle Pete, you do riff tracks? Awesome. Yeah, I just recently did watched Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory with riff tracks. That one's really good. And also did what was the other one I did? Oh, the first Harry Potter, the Sorcerer's Stone. Also really good. Okay. No. Sorry, excuse me a second. No. Sorry, my cat. She was gonna. I had my t-shirts I just got from Fright Rags sitting out, and my cat was about to start laying on them and get fur all over them, because that's what cats do. I had to tell her, not this time, buddy. Thank you, Marshall. Fresh. Rift Trash Rock and Roll Nightmare is a gem. Oh, I'll have to look into that one for sure. Yeah, Kenny. What coffee are you drinking, Kenny, by the way? Oh, by the way, I'll show you guys this because I don't know if you guys are into these particular fandoms. And if you are, if you buy from Fright Rags, I know it's a little bit pricey, but their designs are really good. These are some really good designs I just got today. So, first of all, I love the Phantasm films. So they just got the rights to do Phantasm 2 stuff. And I have a hard time finding Phantasm things, so I got this Phantasm. Why is it all messed up? There we go. This Phantasm 2. That's a nice shirt. I love that design. And then also, I'm huge into Twin Peaks, and they just got the rights to do a bunch of Twin Peaks things. I already have 2 Twin Peaks shirts, but you can never have enough Twin Peaks shirts in my mind. So if you're a Twin Peaks fan, you'll know that that's pretty awesome. God damn, everything's switched on this. So make it right. It's a pretty awesome one. But anyway, if you guys had interest, they're always like, I feel like monthly on Fright Rags, they're always getting new properties to do the shirt designs for, which is great. Yeah, all the Harry Potter movies are on HBO Max. That's why I started doing them with riff tracks. I'm going to go through all of them with riff tracks. A lot of fun. Black coffee, little milk and sugar. Got it. Right now, what's up? Are you new to the 40 years old and you've never seen Hellraiser or Phantasm? Hey, I'm not going to judge on that. That is totally fine. It took me a long time before I even really got into horror, and there's still movies right now. I'm almost 40, and there's still movies right now that I haven't seen that I should have, like Dawn of the Dead being one of them. And I know there are other ones that come up all the time that people are like, what, you haven't seen that yet? I'll get there eventually. So, no judgment on that. But, highly recommend the first 2 Hellraisers. Highly recommend all the Phantasm films. Yeah, Marshall. The shirts, Fright Rags does really great designs. Like I said, they're a little bit pricey, but their designs are really nice. And the shirts, like, they feel really nice. They're not, like, super thick. They're relatively thin, and they're really soft. So they're real breathable and everything. So it's quality. Oh, yeah, Kenny. Catch up on Twin Peaks, man. Twin Peaks, so good. The more recent season that they did in what, like 2015 or something, somewhere in there. But the first two seasons from the 90s, awesome. 43 and just watched The Fog for the first time a few months ago. Yeah, The Fog, man. It's so good. I love The Fog. I've only seen it a few times in my life, but every time I watch it, I've watched it like 3 or 4 times total. Every time, fall in love with it again. Oh, right now you're totally new. All right, well, welcome. Have fun with us. Need to catch up on classics? Yeah, I need to catch up on classics too, actually, Marshall. You just saw Silence of the Lambs, okay? Oh, The Shining, Marshall? Whew. Let me know what you think after you see The Shining. The Shining is one of my favorite films of all time. Not just horror, like favorite films, period, of all time. I love that film. It's amazing. Big Nightmare on Elm Street fan. Okay, right now. Got it. Cool. Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street films, a lot of fun. All of them are fun, in my opinion. Dawn of the Dead is fun. Yeah, I keep hearing. I'm going to do it. Don't worry, I'm going to do it. I'm getting there. Movies just keep popping up. Haven't seen The Shining either. Do it. Right now, do it. And you need to see The Fog. Yes, The Fog and The Shining. Put those towards the top of your list. Those films are both great. So great. NOEM. Bomb. Yep. Pretty jealous. You're in for a ride for all those movies. Oh, I know, Kenny. That points to something awesome, is that when other people talk about films that you love and they're like, oh, I've never seen it before, I feel like you do get kind of jealous of, like, they're about to experience it for the first time, and you kind of, like, think back to when you did, and you just wish you could experience it again for the first time. I get it, man. Totally cool. I think The Shining is probably the most highly regarded horror film. Yeah, probably, Kenny. Probably one of the best movies, period. It's really good. And that's why it sucks in particular that Stephen King hated it so much, because Kubrick did such a good idea. I understand that King hates it because it wasn't super faithful to his book, but it's an amazing film. Not just because of the material, but because of how it looks. Like, it is masterful. And the performances, like Jack Nicholson, I mean, everyone did a good job in that. Shelley Duvall, but she went through some terrible stuff with Kubrick, from what I understand. So, oh, by the way, this is also Fright Rags, if people didn't know. Tremors, love it. Nice Tremors top. Oh yeah, thanks, Whippy Killer. Yeah, Fright Rags, love it. This is so great. Yeah, you only like 1 and 2. That's excusable. That's totally fine, Whippy Killer. I like 1, 2, and 3, and then I do also really like the TV show that was on Sci-Fi. That's fun because it has the same feel of like 1, 2, and 3. And then I think number 5 was actually pretty solid, but 4 is not good and 6 is not good, and 7's coming out in October. I think that's probably going to be not good, but the premise sounds fun. Found your channel because I was looking for host reviews. Oh, cool. Thanks, Right Now. Well, thanks for checking it out. I appreciate it. It was quick, but I was super impressed. The special effects, they looked so real. That's true. Yeah, Right Now, it was very impressive what they were able to do with such a limited situation. And that's one of the things I love most about, low-budget films, independent films, and horror films that are independent in particular, is it seems like the creativity is to, like, the nth degree. Like, when you have no money to make a film, you find a way to make things work if you have the drive. And I know a lot of people who do film, because I've done short films in my past, and so I've kind of met a lot of people, and I still know those people. I'm still, on speaking terms with some of those people. Not, I'm not, like, best friends with them, but I talk to them here and there. And, yeah, they're the same folks. Like, yeah, they do what they got to do, and they get super creative. But yeah, Host was well done. I enjoyed it. Sorry about the other week, guys. I had a pretty busy schedule that day, so I was popping in and out. You don't need to apologize, Kenny. It's fine. I mean, people, if you can make it, you can make it. If you can't, you can't. Whatever. It's fine. I don't hold grudges or anything with that. I understand people have lives, but I'm doing this every other Saturday, and if you can make it, I'm there, and we'll be doing it. Seriously, I wish I could brainwash my memory to rewatch some of the great ones. Yeah, man. Yeah, the acting was unreal. Kubrick's direction, that score is amazing. Yes, the score. Totally right. The Shining score is so good. Really creepy vibes. Unbelievably creepy vibes. Unbelievable. Like The Shining despite Shelley Duvall. I know I've said this before on my channel and maybe even during the live stream, but I don't know if you know this, Kenny. But I actually had the opportunity to see one of the anniversary re-releases of The Shining in the theater, and it changed the movie for me in a way, because since the picture was so much larger, it felt like the hotel was even more of a character in the film, and you could just see more, and you also felt more immersed in it because it was so huge. That right there was my favorite theater going experience, period. It was amazing. I heard good things about Host. Can't wait to see it. I hope you like it, Kenny. Yeah, and Uncle Pete, like he just said, he loved it. All about it. It's great to support independent film. It's great too. Yeah, it's hard to get toe-to-toe acting with Jack. Yeah. He was just awesome in that movie. He's a great actor, no doubt. Yep, I agree. Better than the Paranormal Activity. Yeah, like I said, Uncle Pete, I would have to rewatch Paranormal Activity to make a determination, but it was good. I don't really like found footage films, but it entertained me, which I think says a lot, because that's not my thing. Cool. I'm glad you enjoy them, Kenny. I'm glad. Yeah, it was unbelievable in the theater, trust me. If it ever happens again, and if we still have theaters, make sure you do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into The Invisible Man, the Blumhouse Invisible Man. I'm going to turn it over to you guys first. What do you guys want to talk to first? You can start kind of leading things. I have a few things in my head that I would like to kind of cover. I don't know if people watched the review that I put out for it today or not, but I'll kind of rehash some of that stuff, and obviously through discussion we'll talk about some other things that I didn't talk about in there. And I will just say I thought it was solid. Overall, I liked it. I had a good time with the film. I might rewatch it. I don't know. But I had problems with it. I had some relatively big problems with it at the same time. One of the biggest things being the title. Which, like, I understand why the title is what it is, but I also think it would have been a better movie experience if it had a different title. Which I know sounds dumb, but trust me. I'll expand on that at some point, though. The Invisible Man is the first horror movie to star John Cena. John Cena? What? John Cena was... Hold on. That wasn't John Cena. Hold on. I didn't really pay attention to who the Invisible Man was, to be honest. My bad. But Elizabeth Moss was great. She was unbelievable in the film. It's not John Cena. Where the heck is John Cena? Did you watch a different movie, Marshall? And Drax. Oh. I like the Drax comment. That's funny. I like Winnell's adaptation of The Invisible Man because he modernized it, making it about abusive relationships. Yes, that was smart. That was really smart. It was also like a sci-fi thriller, so it was refreshing to the horror genre. Yeah, and I said this in my review, but I felt like a few of the times when I was watching the film, I saw a lot of his film Upgrade in that film. And that's kind of speaking, Marshall, to what you're saying about the fusion of the horror with the sci-fi, because Upgrade was very sci-fi-y, and that's a good film. I would definitely recommend people see Upgrade if they haven't seen it. It's really cool, especially in the hospital, the mental hospital scene in Invisible Man, where the fighting was happening. That's when I was like, this is reminding me of Upgrade, because he was using some of the same directing style for that, and a lot of the same kind of like camera work. So that was very interesting. But so I've watched this movie again this week to prepare. One thing that really stood out to me is that this movie was meant to be in the theater with the loud surround sound. And that's a very good point, Kenny. Very good point. I could see that being even more immersive and better for the aspect of like seeing and hearing things, and then questioning a little bit like, is it something is it something, aka the Invisible Man, with the noise or the what you're seeing, or is it something else? Is it nothing really? So yeah, that kind of immersive experience, like pulling you in. I can see that for sure, Kenny. Thought the main actress was great. She carried the movie just with the show of her distress and fear. I agree, Uncle Pete. Elizabeth Moss is a really good actress, and she did an outstanding job in that. And I think you're right. Like, she's shown the most in the film. I didn't think there was any bad acting in it, but you kind of forget who is in the film other than her, to be honest, because her performance is so good. Because when she's delivering lines and physically acting, she is center stage, and you're so pulled into what she's doing on screen. So, totally agree. Um, the scenes where she was being attacked in the house was way more effective with the enhanced sound. Yeah, I could definitely see that, Kenny. That's a good point. Oh, Marshall. Okay, got it. John Cena is and You Can't See Me. Doo 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 doo. Got it. I missed the reference because I don't really watch wrestling anymore. I did when I was in high school, so like a long time ago, but yeah. Elizabeth Moss, terrific. She pretty much carried the film. Yup, Kenny. John Cena's wrestling joke. His catchphrase, You Can't See Me. Yep, Uncle Pete. Tried watching this movie twice. The second time I had to stop the reading of the will. The beginning of the film with the crazy husband. I thought, what? Yeah, so yeah, John. So why did you stop the second time, the reading of the will? Which, by the way, at the moment of that reading of the will, like, I really did think that the brother knew that he was physically in the room when he made that comment about him physically being in the room. And then they kind of did, like, the misdirection of, oh, it's the urn. But it just felt like the way the actor was playing the character, which I don't know if that was his interpretation of the character or if it was the directing by Wanell or a combination of the two. I felt like he felt too sinister of a character to not have been involved, or at least to not have known that his brother was still alive and invisible. So for me, it wasn't really a shock. It wasn't like a big reveal when it was like, oh, he knew all along in the mental hospital where he's like, there's a way you can get out of this. But yes, the very beginning scene where she's like sneaking out, I thought that was really well done. It was very intense. Great tension there. When she dropped the medicine on the ground as she raced to the car, my eyes rolled in my head for almost an hour. Really? Yeah, the medicine thing. So, John, to that point, I know what you're talking about with that, especially because when things are focused on so intentionally that they're like, this is going to be important. This is going to be important. Make sure you're looking. I don't like that, and that is kind of one of my bigger issues with the film is I felt there were a bunch of times where they could have made things more below the surface, more subtext, more show you but not tell you, because they also had some lines of dialogue where they would show something happening and then they would have lines of dialogue that would tell you specifically what just happened, which I just don't like because I feel like it makes me feel like the director thinks that the audience is dumb, so they need hand-holding, and I just don't like that. But that's just a personal thing. I know some people, that doesn't bother them at all, or they prefer that, and that's fine. It's just, for me, that's why I had a problem with that. Kenny Chung, yes, the theater experience definitely helped. Okay, Marshall. Yeah, so Marshall, you saw it in the theater too, I guess. Those making noise cliches was a little derivative. Yeah, I hear you on that, Uncle Pete. My experience, I think, helped me with this film. My friend is a journalist, so he had a screener and brought me with him. Oh, that's cool. We saw it in IMAX with Dolby Sound. Yeah, and it's interesting because I wasn't even thinking of how the film would have been in the theater, but now that you guys are bringing it up, I can guess what that experience would kind of be like, and I definitely see where it would be enhanced. So that is a very good point, because a lot of films are obviously made for the theater, although now you have films like Host on Shudder that are obviously made not for the theater, because who knows if we're getting them back, really. So but it's a good point. The brother at the will reading was too much to bear. I agree, John. There was a black detective father and his college-going daughter. Who are these people, and why should I care? Well, I mean, I think they're there to show that... Crap, what was her name in it? Elizabeth Moss character. Why am I blanking on her name? Anyway, that character, Elizabeth Moss, I'll just say, they're there to show that she went and was accepted into a friend's home. I assume he was a friend beforehand. And that she was so grateful that she was helping to enrich their lives. The other thing is, you needed to have her going to some other people in order for her to become isolated. Because that is a big portion of the story, is him isolating her. And if she's by herself, then... You know, the gradual isolation that he creates when he's invisible doesn't end up working. So it really had to be there. So the guy and his daughter are there for that reason, to show like a close relationship. It almost felt like it was like a almost romantic relationship, but I appreciate that they didn't fully go there because we don't really need that. So it was just a really close friendship. And then I like that there was that added relationship with her and the daughter, especially with how she wanted to help her monetarily, because I viewed it a little bit as her trying to have her influence in making another strong woman, so that maybe when she grows up, she can be strong, independent, smart, and not hopefully fall into the same situation that she had fallen into with her super abusive, controlling husband. That's just my take on it. I was immersed with the movie being atmospheric with the use of silence and empty rooms. Yeah, and that's a good point, Marshall. The use of silence was good. I'm always a big fan of when silence is used well, and Winnell did do a good job with using silence. Lee wanted to show Adrian's point of view. You could hear Adrian breathing and his footsteps when he was watching her. Yes, and that's a good point. Those were like subtle noises, and that is another point of the theater experience would enhance that. Because even when it's low, you still really hear it in the theater, so yeah. And I will say, tied to that, when he was breathing and everything, probably the most, like the coolest part, in my opinion, was when she went outside and you saw her breath in the cold air, and then you see his like kind of behind her and to the side. That's a really cool moment. Cinematically, it looks great. And that's kind of like a oh no type moment. It's like she's definitely in trouble right now. The film was in so much of a hurry that I never got to know any of these people before the crap hit the fan. That's true. It did feel a little bit abrupt with the introduction of the guy and his daughter, so I could see that. And yeah, like her sister too was very abrupt as well. Like you didn't get relationships. So yeah, I could see where that was bothersome for you. Not one of these people in the story first 40 minutes had any kind of a backstory that would push me towards caring about any of them. Yeah. I could see that. That is kind of problematic. If I don't care about the characters, then I won't sit through 2 hours of misery. Life's too short. I'd rather watch Mausoleum 4 times, which I did. Oh my gosh. You watched it 4 times? I can't blame you, though, because I actually have it on right now. I love it. Like, it's so terrible, but so great. But we'll talk about that later, but I get it. And going to the runtime, though, with The Invisible Man, I agree in the sense that the 2 hour runtime is too much. There is a bunch of stuff that could have definitely been cut down. Overall, I definitely liked the film, but one of the big issues is the runtime. It didn't need to be that large. And with horror films, it starts to feel like a bit of a chore if the film is over an hour and a half. Unless it's crazy engaging. Which this one's engaging. It's just not engaging like 2 hours engaging. Well, that's a good point, Carlin. I didn't realize that he could have been in that conference room when they were discussing the will. Kenny, I assumed he was in the conference room when they were discussing the will. I assumed he was with her completely, like, the whole way through. I mean, if you think about it, that's probably when he found out where she was, and he followed her from there, is my guess. I mean, the whole ploy is he needed to fake his death and then become invisible. His brother gets the portion where he needs to talk to her about the will. The invisible brother shows up at the will reading, and then he follows her to her house from there. Because prior to that, he doesn't know where she's located. So that was their smart way to get him back into her life, basically. I also love Mausoleum. That was a blast. Yeah, Mausoleum. We'll talk about that. But I'm sad to hear the movie didn't work with you. I understand, though, and respect your opinion. Nice. Yeah. And that's the thing, Marshall. Like, you're demonstrating exactly what people should be doing. Is if someone says, hey, you know, I really didn't like this film, just saying, oh, well, I mean, first of all, I'd be like, oh, why is that? And when they give you an explanation, then you just be like, okay, yeah, I see your points. I love it, but I understand you didn't love it, and that's okay. And that's true. Like, I know there are plenty of movies that I have such an affinity for, and people think are trash and not worth anything. A bunch of my friends are that way with, like, the crappy horror movies I like that are, like, so bad they're good. And there's the opposite, where, like, there are movies I don't get why people like them, but I know that they like them a lot, and that's fine. Like, the movie Mandy. Like, I hate that movie, but I know people like it, and that's alright. Did anyone notice the Saw reference symbol when she was driving off the mental hospital? No! Where was that, Kenny? Where was that Saw reference? I didn't see that. But that's awesome that it's there. I like that. Joe Bonda. Sorry that it took me a while to get to you. Hey, man. Hey, Joe. Welcome. Kenny, yep, it was Billy. I smiled when I saw him. Boy, that was pretty cool. Oh, Billy was in? Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. They were childhood friends according to what I read. Okay, got it. I thought the scenes where you first felt the presence of the invisible man in the house, where he's stalking them when they were sleeping, also how you can see his breathing. Yeah, that stuff was really effective, Kenny. Like, building the atmosphere was done very well by Leigh Whannell. Like, he's a good director. He's definitely a good director. Some of his writing, though, I think maybe he needed some other people to kind of take a pass at a little bit of his writing. And I'll talk about, like, some of my other issues with it. But yeah, when you saw his breath outside, that was neat. It was really good. And how the camera follows from his point of view. Yep. Good directing. Yep. In an interview, one else said that Cecilia, that's her name, thank you, Marshall, is a feminine name of the word Cecil. Cecil in Latin means blind. Clever writing from one else, since Cecilia didn't see Adrian. Yeah, that's cool. And I like having that kind of behind-the-scenes knowledge, so thanks for sharing, Marshall. Appreciate that. I enjoyed it. Mausoleum. It was entertaining. Something about these early 80s movies. Well, yeah, Kenny, that's because they were like, hey, you have an idea for a horror film? Here's money. Go make it. Let's go. I mean, that's basically how it was. I think the most controversial part, it seems, was the ending, so I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts about it. Okay, Kenny. So, well, I'll read through what everyone else said first, because I don't want to repeat if they said something. Watching a movie on the big screen doesn't always work. I watched the latest Hellboy on the big screen and slept through a good chunk of the movie. Yeah, John, though, I've heard that movie's just not good in general. I will check it out at some point, but it's low on my list. But yeah, I've heard bad things. I got a lot for the ending. Let me go to my notes. Ooh, nice, Marshall. Notes. Like it. Yikes, yeah, I heard the latest Hellboy was terrible. Yeah, that's the Reddit photo of the Saw reference photo. Cool. So, okay, so my feeling... Oh, wait. One thing about the ending is Adrian, like most abusers, tries to suggest a fresh start. True, Marshall. He refuses to admit there's been no wrongdoing, so it goes back to the concept of abusive relationships. Yeah, basically, yeah. It's like a brainwashing technique of being like, what you just experienced, you didn't experience. Everything's been copacetic. Everything's been fine. Everything's been even keel. It's just you perceived it wrong, and in reality, everything was fine. And that is one of the big things. It's that mental manipulation of abusers. So, yeah. The ending for me symbolizes that abuse victims can sometimes feel invisible, but they're not, and they do have a voice as well as the ability to stand up to their abusers. Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, I could definitely see that, Marshall. Very good point, and well put at that. Um, I like the ending, but I kind of think that they needed to do the ending in a different way because for me, the logistics of it don't work. The idea behind it, I love. I think it's great. I think it's a great idea for her to show up, to act like nothing happened, and that she's going to get back together with him, and then use an invisible suit and, kill him. Great, awesome concept. She gets her revenge and everything, and there's absolutely no evidence. I'm down with that, but logistically, it doesn't work because I assume she used the invisible suit that the brother had on. Now she shot that, so there are bullet holes in it. So either it wouldn't work, and I guarantee she wouldn't know how to fix it, or anyone she knows wouldn't know how to fix it. And the second thing would be that there would be bullet holes at least in that thing. So you would see something, at least maybe in the camera, he would see something. Also, you feel people's presences, and if he had been invisible, he would kind of know. He would have his heightened senses with that. The other thing being that I don't think she has the strength to do what she did with him, to take the knife, slit his throat, and then put it in his hand. I don't think she has the brute strength to do that, especially because throughout the film, he is shown to be very strong. Very strong. Now, that said, I don't think that he had the ability to pull off the throat slitting of her sister the way that it happened in the restaurant either, because it's so unnatural the way it looks. Plus, you need to just think of the logistics of having a knife, slitting someone's throat with it, then putting it in another person's hand and having them actually grasp it, and how fast it happened in that scene. Totally unbelievable. Totally took me out of the film. It was poorly done. I thought that was terrible. That's one of my big issues with it. But just saying, they could have kept the same concept, but they just needed to do it a different way. The whole knife, the throat slitting thing, it just didn't work. But yeah, just saying. Yeah, I don't know why Adrian was so trusting and loving to Cecilia after everything that happened. Did he really think Cecilia was going to be that gullible to come back to him? Kenny, I would just say that people like that are narcissists. People like that think the world of themselves. So he may have just thought that naturally she'll come back to me because I'm me. Everyone loves me. And I'm so persuasive. That's the other thing. He probably puts a lot of stock into his ability to kind of, bring her back into the fold. But I guess it's true of his nature to think she will love him again. Yeah, Kenny. I went with a friend to see it in the theater, and he hated the way it ended. He threw his hands up and said, "Are we supposed to believe it was her?" Yeah, I hear that, Heather. I think it may have been a little more... It wouldn't have had necessarily the same impact of, like, the revenge of it and of her getting the upper hand, but it may have worked better if she went there and her friend, who was outside in the car, actually put the suit on and went in and killed him. Just a thought. Because the fact that she leaves and then comes back after he's killed himself, if anyone has the knowledge that there's an invisible suit at any point, then that creates some issues. But if she's there the whole time and someone else uses the invisible suit and he does that, there'd be much less questions, or it would look much less suspicious because she would have been physically there the whole time doing nothing. Just saying. The scene where she killed him with the invisible suit was pretty badass. That part was good. Like I said, for me, good concept, just I don't like the way they executed it. Universal wants to do an Invisible Woman movie, so I don't... If the ending was a setup. Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, I do know that there is a sequel being worked on. Initially, when Lee Whannell was talked to, interviewed, and they were... Sorry, looking for my water. And they were asking him, are you going to do another one of these? He was very non-committal, and it sounded like he was kind of actually not interested in doing another one, just kind of moving on to the next thing. But once it made so much money, they then came back to him, and he was like, yeah, I'm working on a new one. I think it was actually announced just in July that he started a script for a sequel. So yeah, I mean, if films make money, there's going to be a sequel. She used a different suit. But where'd she get the suit, Heather? That's my question. Where'd the suit come from? Wasn't there a scene when she went back to his house and found out about how he made the suit? Then she hid the suit somewhere in the house, so I thought she used it at the end. Did I miss that? That's possible I missed that, Kenny. Because I don't remember that. You might be right. Marshall, there's 2 suits. Adrian and his brother had one. Cecilia took Adrian's when she Ubered to the house. She hid it in the closet. Okay, well then that clears that up. But I still stick with the situation of she wouldn't have been able to strong arm him to like physically overpower him, and the whole slitting the throat and then putting the knife in the hand thing is very unnatural and doesn't work logistically when she did it or when he did it. Either way, that does not work. But thank you for clearing that up. I did miss that somehow. I did like how they updated it for modern times. I agree. Definitely, Uncle Pete. The original being a formula, they did a good update with Hollow Man, but I like the tech suit idea since it has some validity to it. Yeah, Uncle Pete, I agree with you. And on the suit thing, I thought the design of the suit was really cool. It looked really awesome. And one of the really cool things is the part where she's in the attic and she throws the paint can down and it gets on him. I love that portion because the way it looked when the paint hits him. And you can, if you pause it, you can see some of the texture of the suit in the white paint. And it just looks cool. It looks really good. It's a good scene. Yeah, I realized that later after watching the film. Yeah, I liked how Cecilia is an architect because the idea of privacy, building up walls to construct a contained structure. And that's a good point, Marshall. Yeah, really good point on that, actually. Yeah, I didn't really think about that. I thought the part where the cop friend came to check on her at the end was interesting because he finds out she killed Adrian with the suit. Is that the setup for a sequel or spinoff? We'll see. We'll find out. Where she becomes Invisible Woman. I mean, I'd be down to see Invisible Woman. I'd like to see where they would take it from there. I think that's the plan. But I don't know where the story really goes with her as the Invisible Woman. Yeah. Unless she becomes kind of like a vigilante in a way and starts going after people who are abusers. That could be interesting. So she basically... Alright, get me on this. So she basically becomes a serial killer, but it's like a Dexter type, where she's invisible and she goes and takes out abusive people. Maybe women too. Could be interesting. But yeah, I'd be interested to know where they think they're going to take it. I see the logical problems when her sister dies, but that scene was so unexpected. I know you got to rewind it, but it knocked us on our butts. That's true. I mean, yeah, Marshall, that is true. Like the shock of it, because you don't expect it, that's great. But I'm just saying, like, they could have done it in a different way is all. Or I mean, even just do it the same way, except instead of putting the knife in her hand, just drop it on the table. Like, I feel like that's just about as effective. I mean, she doesn't have to be seen with it in her hand. She's the only other person with that person. She's the only other person at that particular table, so it would just be assumed that she did it. Just saying. Because the other thing is, I assume there were probably cameras there, because there's cameras, like, everywhere in this, and they could go back and look at it and see there's a floating knife, which is the other thing is, how did nobody in this restaurant... How did nobody see a floating knife? I'm just saying. I agree, though, about the ending. It seemed too convenient, and logistically it was a stretch. Yeah, that's my thought, Kenny. But, regardless, I like the idea. It happened so fast, and I think Cecilia was caught up in the moment. That was the ultimate climax to her, that it left her in pure shock, and she froze. That's why I think Adrian was able to put it in her hand. Yeah, but I get that. I get that, like, she couldn't do anything to fight against it, but at the same time, like, how fast it happened, of, like, say someone's hands are down, like, how quickly, think about this, could you grab a person's hand, take a knife, so you have to grab their hand with one hand, you have the knife in your other hand, you need to then put that knife in the person's hand, and then close it around it, and have them hold it there. Now, since she was kind of shocked and everything, she may have held it there, but it's not that smooth of a motion, and the way it's shot is very smooth. It's like this. It just, the way it's shot doesn't work, is what I'm saying. Like, they could have done it a different way, and it works. But it just didn't work. They needed, one else said he talked to people about the design of the suit and how to make it invisible, and they said it could possibly work. Oh. That's really interesting, Heather. And like I said, that design of the suit is very cool. When I finally saw it, like, I thought it was going to be some sort of, like, lame, like, skin suit that's just, like, totally, it looks like spandex, but it had texture. It was really cool looking. It looked futuristic and cool. Liked it. Not sure how I feel about Elizabeth Banks being involved for the Invisible Woman film. The Charlie's Angels remake bombed. I didn't see the remake of Charlie's Angels. I don't really care about the movie before that either. Elizabeth Banks, I'm fine with her. I don't know. We'll just have to see where that goes. Oh, Uncle Pete likes my plot idea for Invisible Woman. Cool. Someone tweet at Lee Wanell and let him know that I got ideas. I'm sure he'd be like, don't care. If there's a sequel, it will be The Invisible Woman. I mean, it would have to be. There already is a 2013 Invisible Woman, but it's not about a woman who becomes invisible. Interesting. I like how Elizabeth Moss seems to choose all these characters who are troubled or disturbed. She's good in those roles, but it's interesting how she leans to those types. It may be a situation where she likes playing those roles, but it also may be a situation where she's just so good at it that she always can get a good amount of money to do that role, so she's kind of sought for it. It's possible. I like the layering of the movie. She took birth control pills to not get pregnant, but then Adrian found out and switched the pills. Then she became pregnant, so Adrian was always one step ahead. Yeah, and I think that was really helpful, Marshall, for kind of continually ratcheting up the ante and ratcheting up the tension. And also, like we were talking about, like, being closed in. Like, it was the way they layered it, like you're talking about, they slowly kind of brought the walls in around her. And that's what was happening also with the isolating of the people around her. The slapping of the guy's daughter, the killing of her sister, all that stuff. It just gradually pared down her life so that the walls were closing in. Like, she started to feel claustrophobic, like she was getting trapped. And as an audience member, you could feel it and see it, coming together around her. So yeah, it was effective the way they did that. Good point. He knew her too well and was obsessed with controlling her. Yeah, that's right, Kenny. One of my favorite scenes, though, is when she's about to commit suicide in the shower. Then she says gotcha and stabs him with the pen. I didn't really see that coming. I thought she was actually just going to try to kill herself, and that was her whole plan, is that she was like, well, this is kind of pointless. Living like this and letting him win, I'm just going to take my life. That's what I actually thought. So that was a cool twist of her to just be like, there you are. That was cool. I mean, as moviegoers, as audience members, a lot of the times we like to see the revenge aspect of things. It feels good because you get so much of this person's terrible. But yeah. Yeah, Adrian was a terrible person. He even threw his brother under the bus. Yeah, even worse than that, yeah. He was called a psychopath at some point, I think, by Cecilia. So I think he may have actually been, like, legitimately a psychopath. I think that was potentially the intention. Yeah, I like how she slowly transforms from the scared victim to fighting him back. Well, and Kenny, I think that's because it's the fight or flight thing, like, she gets pushed into that situation, and she's trying to flee. Initially, she chooses flight over fight initially, but he keeps closing in. So it's kind of one of those things of like, when you corner an animal when it would normally try to just run away from you, like, just think about any animal really. If its first instinct is to get away from you, to run away. But if it's like in your house and you literally get it cornered, it is going to fight back. And that's basically what happens in the film, is that she gets pushed into the corner. She has nowhere to go, literally. So he forces her to fight back because she doesn't have the flight response option. She has to take the fight option, or she would just kill herself, which I thought she was going to do, but I'm glad she didn't, because it made for a more interesting film for sure. I thought they revealed it was real and not just in her head too fast. Ben, yes, okay, so, right. And this kind of goes to one of my problems with the title, like I was talking about a little bit ago. Ben brings this up, so thank you, Ben. And welcome. If the film was not called The Invisible Man, I think it would have been a lot better, because Winnell, obviously in the film, tries to give you enough to kind of make you guess, is Adrian actually still alive and invisible, or is she starting to lose it? And the problem is the movie's called The Invisible Man, though. So going into it, there is an invisible man. Had it been called something else, like, I don't know, Hyde, that's a terrible idea. I'm just throwing out a word to just say the movie's called Hyde. You could really ride that story aspect of trying to make people think that she's losing it at the same time as laying enough evidence that he's actually alive and invisible, so that when you finally have the reveal portion, people would be like, I wasn't sure. But going into the film, like, you're sure. Like, I was sure. So the film didn't play to me as well as it could have. So it's weird to say, but it's one of those instances where if they would have named it something else, I think it would have been an even better film, even in its current iteration. Like, you do nothing other than change the name of the film, I think it makes it a better film. And it's such a weird thing to say, but I think that would be the case. The director mentioned he was really influenced by the movie Gone Girl. Oh my gosh. That's not a lie. That film gave me nightmares. Gone Girl. I tell my wife all the time, I'm like, don't you Gone Girl me. Kind of had David Fincher vibes in terms of the tone and how the movie looked. It did. That's a good point, Kenny. It was very David Fincher-ish. It definitely was. That film was good. There's some transportation issues, though, like, how did Adrian always know where Cecilia was? How did he get from place to place? A bit of a plot hole. I mean, Marshall, I'm assuming that once she went to the will thing with the brother, that he followed her from there and never left wherever she was at any given time. Like, he stayed with her and just kept tabs. But then brings the question, like, when is he eating? When's he going to the bathroom? Like, I mean, I guess he was kind of living in the attic of that house, because that's where she finds his phone. Yes, Marshall. David Fincher, me too. I'm a fan. Not like they tried to hide in previews. I don't think they would have, even with a title change. Yeah, Heather, and that's the problem, and that goes to trailers. Like, trailers are an issue too, because there are plenty of instances of this that I've had where if you see the trailer, it just shows you too much of the film, and it shows you things that would have been much better being actual surprises. So when you actually see it, you're just like, yeah, I already saw that, I already knew, and it'll ruin other portions of the film. So that is a good point, that even if the title was different, the trailer may have still messed it up. But I will say that me personally, I usually don't intentionally look for trailers. So I probably would have watched it without having seen a trailer. So for me, it would have been better. It was also called The Invisible Man, but she was so good. The Invisible Man was almost a secondary character, or you could say her performance made him invisible. Yeah, that's a good point, Uncle Pete. And when she was actually doing the actual acting, he was invisible because there was actually nobody there. Which, that's got to be tough. That's hard. To act like someone's there when they're not there, and you know it. How would a sequel go? She uses the suit. Oh, Ben, I'll rehash my idea. Before you showed up, I threw a concept out there of what I think would be cool for a sequel, is if she turned into like a vigilante serial killer, kind of like Dexter, and she went around using the suit to off other abusers. I think that could be a lot of fun. Who knows? I'd rather it be a standalone movie. Yeah, Marshall, I agree. But you have to expect the sequels. You know, if films make money, you got to expect that the sequels are going to happen, because it's a business, unfortunately, and they will just take it to the death. They will run a series into the ground. Although I will say, there are instances where that happens and then it gets kind of resurrected. Like, I will say, you know, this is funny because Lee Wanell is involved, but the Saw franchise, you know, I enjoyed the first 4 films, and then after that, it got dumb, and I didn't like it. And then Jigsaw came out, and I know a lot of people hated on it, but I actually think Jigsaw was pretty solid, especially because you need to understand you have to make it enough like the initial Saw films, but also make it not like the Saw films. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't with how the audience is, because if you change it too much, then people are going to say, well, it's not even Saw, but you're calling it you're saying it's a Saw film. And then if you go the other way and you make it a lot like Saw, then you have people saying, well, it's the same old thing. So I thought with those terrible parameters and that tight rope that they had to walk, that Jigsaw is actually a good film. Just saying. Not great, but good. They're still hinting at it being a joined universe. I know, Ben. They still want to do that dark universe thing that they tried to start with that. From what I hear, I haven't seen it, the terrible Tom Cruise Mummy movie. And from what I hear, the big problem with that is that they focus way too much on Tom Cruise and his character and not enough on the Mummy. You gotta focus on the frickin' Mummy. I mean, the Invisible Man, the one we're talking about, is a great idea of how it's the Invisible Man, but you focus heavily on another character, but it's still a lot about the Invisible Man. So they did a good job of not making it all about the Invisible Man, but it still is very relevant to the Invisible Man. I don't think so. Seems like Blumhouse is giving the directors creative control, which is good. Is definitely good, Marshall. I think they're scrapping a universe concept for Invisible Man. I hope you're right, Kenny, because I just don't see it going well if they try to do the universe thing. Yeah, so many Saw movies. I lost count. Yeah, I think there's about to be 9 with the new one, Spiral, the Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson one, which I am interested in. I'm definitely interested in seeing that. But I get it since it makes so much money. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you just expect it. You don't have to watch them. Just know that. But you're always intrigued. That's the problem. Would you recommend rewatching the Saw series to get to Jigsaw? Yes. Yeah. You'll have to suffer through the ones after 4, but Jigsaw takes everything into account. So I would recommend rewatching the whole series if you want to do Jigsaw. If you want to be fresh on it. Or, I mean, if you haven't already seen it and you don't remember enough. I hope Spiral revives the franchise. Yeah, I mean, yes and no for me, Marshall, because I would definitely be down for more good Saw-type films, but I also know that that's kind of a pipe dream at the same time, because a lot of the times you just get some garbage instead. So, but, you know, if we're going to get a bunch of films and a few of them are good, that's worth it, in my opinion. The end of that movie kind of hints towards why they go that route on the Mummy. Yeah. Okay. Wait. Question, Kenny. Have you not seen any Saw films? How? And if you've seen some, how many have you seen? That's what I want to know. I think I've said pretty much everything I want to say about The Invisible Man. But overall, I would recommend it. I think it was well done. I do think, kind of like Marshall was saying, that it was very smart to pair the concept of the Invisible Man with an abusive relationship, because it goes so well. Because that's kind of like when a person leaves an abusive relationship, it's like an invisible person is still there with you because of the trauma that you carry. And they show that when she first is living at her friend's house, and she's kind of apprehensive about leaving the house because she feels like he could still be there around any corner. And she goes to the mailbox, and someone jogging in the neighborhood, like, gives her PTSD. I mean, she has PTSD. It, triggers her PTSD because it's that trauma that's always there. So, yeah, it was very smart to kind of do that concept. I don't think I've watched all the Saws. I haven't even watched Jigsaw. Maybe I should revisit. Ben, like I said, I think for the parameters they had, I think Jigsaw was good. I enjoyed it. I was surprised. I will say that much. I went into it thinking, here we go. It's not going to be good, but I thought it was solid. Carlin, thanks for considering The Invisible Man for the discussion. Yeah, no problem. I will consider all films. And I'd been wanting to watch that film anyway, so I know it wasn't for everyone, but I'm blessed that we did get to talk about it. Yeah, that's cool. And, I'm open to what people really want to cover. I mean, one of the reasons I really did want to cover it, Marshall, is in addition to me wanting to watch the film anyway, you were very passionate about how much you liked the film, and you were also very insistent at how you believe there was a lot to talk about. And you were totally right about that. There was a lot to talk about. I mean, we've been going for almost an hour about this film, which is phenomenal. There's a lot to dig in. And that's the thing. Even if, for me personally, even if I watch a movie and I don't like it, as long as there's something to talk about. When we covered Slumber Party Massacre and Slumber Party Massacre 2, I don't like Slumber Party Massacre 2, really. On my second viewing of it, I didn't dislike it as much, but it was cool to talk about it because there's a lot of cool stuff to talk about with that film. So it was worth rewatching just to have that cool discussion. I still don't like the film. It didn't change anything, but yeah, it's worth watching these films and talking no matter what. So yeah, all good, Marshall. I saw the first one, which was great. I think I watched Saw 2 and maybe 3, then stopped. Okay, so Kenny, I will say 4, I enjoyed 4. I thought 4 was cool. 5 was probably the worst of all of them, in my opinion. That one really made me mad. Really made me mad. I was pissed. But suffer through it. It's worth it, in my opinion. But the first one, so amazing. I've seen the first 3 Saw movies, but I didn't continue because I can't do torture porn. I could see that, Marshall. It's not for everyone. It's not easy. Yeah, that was definitely... It seemed like that trend went on for a while, but in looking back right now, in the grand scheme of things, that trend was really quick. It was such a flash in the pan. And by the way, talking about that type of film, the torture porn thing, I need to revisit Hostel and Hostel 2 for that reason. And see how I feel about that now. I liked him then. I need to see how I feel about it now. Yeah, thanks for the discussion, guys. It was fun talking about it. Definitely, Kenny. It was a lot of fun. Have you heard of The Rental? That seems to be a recent popular horror movie. Yes. I was actually just reading an article about The Rental yesterday. I do want to see it. I do want to see it. Christina! What is up? Good to see you, Christina. Everyone say hi to Christina. She's really awesome. She's an actress, and she's very cool. Very nice person. She has a YouTube channel, too, by the way. Wait, you've stopped in here before. A bunch of live streams ago. So I remember talking about your YouTube channel. But it bears repeating. Christina has a YouTube channel. People check that out. She's really cool. I like her a lot. She's got an awesome social media presence, too, on Twitter. Yeah. We got newbies, new folks, since you were here last, Christina, so it bears repeating. So welcome. Hot take, I think The Collector is better than any of the Saw movies. Oh, that's interesting. Well, and it's particularly interesting you say that because the guys who did The Collector did Saw 4. I think they did like Saw 4, 5, and 6, if I'm remembering correctly. They did multiple Saws. They scripted them. And then they did The Collector as well. Which, that's on our list. Well, at some point. After we talk about Mausoleum, we'll talk about it. But we need to figure out what our next live stream movies are going to be. I have some ideas to throw out, but I also want to hear what you guys really want to do. Because I know I've been setting it, but I don't want to always do that if you guys don't want me to. So if you guys want to, throw in what you want here and there, I'm totally down with it. I saw the rental. It was decent. Okay. I definitely want to check out the rental at some point. Sure thing, Carlin. I would watch anything you recommend. Huh. Thanks, Kenny. That comment means a lot to me. It's a very humbling comment because in order for someone to respect another person's opinion that much, that's a big deal. So I don't take that lightly that you said that. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. The host was pretty good, new on Shudder. Yeah, Ben, we talked a little bit about the host in the beginning. I would recommend definitely that people check it out. And I think one of the strengths of Host at the moment is that everyone can understand it because it takes place in COVID times, and for that reason, like, you feel like the film understands you and you understand the film a little bit more, and it's kind of like there are a lot of things that are relevant to your life right now because it's weaved into that film. So I think it's kind of for audiences like universally has a lot of shared experiences which help it out. Is Upgrade a horror movie too? Would be interested in watching his other movie. So I personally don't think Upgrade's horror. I think it's more sci-fi, Kenny, but it's good. It's definitely worth watching. And it's crazy that it's as good as it is for how low budget it was. Like, you can tell it's low budget, but once again, like I was talking about, the creativity at play to make it something better than otherwise it would have been, top notch. Oh yeah, new ideas for the next stream. Excited to discuss. I started like making a list last night. I'll leave it up to you, Carlin. You fulfilled my request, so thanks. Thank you, Marshall. Yeah, you got it. Okay. Let's we'll talk about what we're going to do later, but let's talk about Mausoleum. If John is still here, do you want to take the helm on this, John, since you watched Mausoleum 4 frickin' times, which is amazing. I actually have it on in the background. I've had it on in the background the whole time here. I have it on right now. This is a scene where she's about to kill this dude in the mall. She's doing her eye thing. He's being lifted off the ground. By the way, the green eye thing, so awesome. I love it. More action-packed, but it's definitely a good recommendation. Yeah, Upgrade, yeah, Marshall. Cool. Let us know what you think when you check it out, Kenny. Definitely do. Mausoleum 1983. Kick it off, John. Get it going. 4 times. Yeah, salute to John for the 4 times on Mausoleum. That's awesome. I've only watched it 3 times. This is my 3rd. You know, a movie has to be good when the executive producer was part of the Colombo crime family, spent years in prison, and became a born-again Christian motivational speaker who made an entire career out of quitting the mob. Jesus. Seriously? I didn't know about that. That's nuts, man. That's crazy. Wow. Thank you, John. Always a fountain of knowledge on these films. I watched it last night. Very entertaining. Yeah, that's what I thought the first time I watched it. I laughed a lot at Mausoleum. And one of my favorite things about it is the characters are so dumb and awkward and nothing really makes sense. Also, the Nomad family. Oh my Like, who didn't? I mean, no offense if you didn't, but who didn't pick up on that? Like very early on, the whole nomad thing. It's like, I laughed a lot. That the gardener, yes, the gardener by far. One of my favorite things too is the kind of montage of the gardener working, and then he like sleeps on the boat pier. It's like ridiculous. And then he's like reading a book about doing yard maintenance, like, but then also like how creepy he is, and the family, like, even before the whole demon stuff really comes into play, like the family's just like, oh, it's just our creepy gardener guy, like that's just how he is. They're so oblivious, it's ridiculous, but it makes it funny, so I love it. I love it. Yeah, so the creepy gardener, oh my gosh. He was not being subtle at all. No, not at all. It was part of the video nasties. Oh, it was? Oh yeah, I think I did read that. That's right. Despite the nudity, it was not produced by Roger Corman. I like that, John. That's a good comment. Yeah, Corman liked the nudity. And there's a lot of nudity in this. Which the level of nudity in this, I was very surprised. I was like, that's crazy. But, you know, that's what happened back then. Like, they were like, this is not going to be a good film. Throw more boobs in there. That's totally how it was. John coming with knowledge. Yeah. Yeah. Bobby Brisee, Playboy Bunny, not Playboy Playmate. Okay. Oh, yeah, that montage was hilarious. Yeah. Yeah, amazing. The housekeeper part was so unexpected and funny, too, with the comedy music. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the funny thing. It was like Benny Hill type music with, what's her name? Elsie, I think. The Benny Hill type music, which there's never any other music like that used in the entire film. So it was very out of place. It didn't work. It was a really stupid choice. But once again, it adds to the ridiculous charm of the film. There's a particular scene I want to talk about, too, that I just think is one of my favorites because it's so dumb. Total change in tone and random. Yep. Mausoleum and gravestones from this movie are located inside Evergreen Cemetery, 204 North Evergreen Avenue, Los Angeles, California. There were a few famous people buried there. Oh, very interesting. And now we know where it is, so we can go visit if we make it out to California. Well, I think Uncle Pete lives there, so he can go. Oh yeah, the nudity was insane. It was almost borderline pornographic. Yeah, like softcore, pretty much. Housekeeper was made famous from the TV show Sanford and Sons. She looked familiar. Okay, well then that's where I've seen her before. Nice. Yeah, it was so bizarre. I noticed from the gravestones scene, it looked like LA. Okay. Okay, so the scene that I want to talk about real quick is when they go out to the restaurant / club. It's such a funny scene to me. The blonde guy with the beard, who's like obviously after the woman, is such a ridiculous actor. First of all, his acting's terrible, like pretty much everyone in this film. Second of all, the way he acts is hilarious. And third, and my favorite part of it, when the fire starts in his car, that she starts with her eyes, her green eyes, the fact that the back seat's on fire, and what does he keep doing? Just looking back and just like trying to like swipe at it and just like looking at it, and it's like your first response would be to get out of the car. And it's just so funny and ridiculous that he just stays in the car and is just like watching it burn. I know he was drunk, but he wasn't that drunk. It's just funny to me. In the beginning, the young girl, 10-year-old, became possessed. Next, we see her, she was 30. What was the demon doing for 20 years? That's a good, sleeping is my guess. That's my best guess. Oh, the dude's about to get killed, her husband. They're making out, and she's naked. Big surprise. In the bathroom. He's about to get it. But yeah, my guess is for 20 years the demon was sleeping. Maybe they need very long slumbers. I don't know. Or maybe it's kind of like, I don't know if you guys know about like the 13-year and 17-year cicadas. Like they're in like a pupa stage for like 13 years, 17 years, and they come out, once every 13 or 17 years, and then they die, and then they're back the next 13 to 17 years. Maybe the demon's like that. Yeah, Kenny, I was like, just get out, dude. I know, right? I wanted to discuss that part too. Yeah. It's like my favorite part. And just like how aggressive that dude is with trying to get close to her in the club, and like the comments that he makes. He made some, I forget exactly what it was, but he made some like super flippant comment to the woman he was there with when they first introduced him. It was so funny. The dialogue in this is crappy too, which makes it great. Oh, let's also talk about the special effect of like the smoke or like mist or whatever that was over the mausoleum. Like how boxed that looks, and just awful. Because like this is 83, and that looks like bad, like early 70s effects bad. Oh, that's another thing that just came up. The demon face boobs. That was a really weird idea. I don't know why they decided to go with that, but like the little demon faces on her breasts when she's fully demon, and they're like dripping like fluorescent green goo? I don't understand the concept there. One is the drunk man is Gene Edwards. He played in the Grizzly Adams series. Oh, that makes so much sense. I thought the drunk guy at the club was Grizzly Adams. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Love it. What did you think of the scene of where the husband woke up to her sitting in the chair, and she looked demonic, and he just goes downstairs to make a phone call, and that was it? I know, it was the most like non-scene scene. I thought it was leading somewhere, and then he's just like, oh yeah, and then it's so terrible. Yeah, that's a bad scene, but like bad awesome scene. It was not even trying to be subtle. I'll be back, gotta get some food. Sure thing, Marshall will be here. Yeah, the makeup special effects was pretty nuts. Yeah, the makeup special effects, I mean, they actually did a good job with the practical effects. The costuming, that was pretty solid. Added the craziness, yep. Another thing I wanted to say that I actually enjoy about the film, the colors, the use of colors. They had some really cool inspired use of colors at times. Especially in the Mausoleum, where it's kind of like the purple and the green. Those are really cool, but they use like a blue and green at certain times, and like the green mist. They did cool color usage. The other thing is there's some legitimately good looking camera shots in the film, and some cool cinematography and directing. Specifically like the shots inside the Mausoleum where they're showing it from like the top down as someone's kind of like walking through the arches of the hallway of it. That stuff looks really good. So there's some good, like, there's actual good filmmaking at play here at times. It's just terrible script, terrible acting, terrible execution of acting and script, some wacky concepts, but it's fun, man. The family name is Nomad, which is demon spelled backwards. Yep. I was like, oh, they've seen Troll 2, which I think actually Troll 2 was probably after that. Maybe Troll 2 took it from them. I want to say like Troll 2 was like 85 or something. Now I have to look it up. I gotta look it up now. Sorry. I agree with the color usage, and the tracking shots were nice. Yes. Yeah, totally. Tracking shots were good. Nice. John, you blew Kenny's mind. Good job. Alright, Troll 2. Troll 2 would be a good one to cover at some... Well, it's kind of overdone. Yeah, Troll 2 is 90. So maybe the people who made Troll 2 had seen Mausoleum. And we're like, we'll do the name spelled backwards thing. Nilbog. In the beginning, did you see the shadow of someone doing something creepy as the young girl was at the crypt? No. What was it? Was it the gardener, maybe? Yeah, I wanted to discuss about that shadow figure who was revealed to be the gardener. Yeah, I don't know. I was a little confused by it because she killed him earlier in the movie. Right, when the guy creeps into the mausoleum, like I saw that, and then he runs outside and his head explodes. Which, by the way, that was cool. I love the head explosion. Was that really the shadow of Ben the gardener or Ben's father? I don't know. It's a good question. Is that maybe getting to the idea that, like, it's this weird thing where that family is always the gardener for the family that is harboring the demon? They're like servants to the demon, maybe? I don't know if I'm giving the film too much credit now by saying that. Guess he was immortal or a demon, not sure. I think the filmmakers were also not sure. Kenny, that's my thought, is that they also weren't sure. It seemed with the way that they had it at the end, where they revealed that the gardener's there in the graveyard. It seemed like it was just like an after the fact idea, where it's just like, oh hey, it was on that day shooting the last scene. And they're like, hey, you know what would be cool is if we just made it the gardener is in the graveyard, because then maybe it could set it up for like a sequel or something. Like, oh yeah, good idea, let's do that. Not thinking, well, it doesn't even make sense. Yeah, it's just, yeah, I don't know. So, because of Mausoleum, it got me thinking about other movies that are like so bad that I love them, and it brought up another movie that I want to propose as our second film for the next live stream. And it is also on Shudder. I love it. It's so bad, I love it. Before the guy's head blew up, he was behind the little girl. On the side, you can see a shadow of some man, maybe a monk, doing stuff. Huh. Yeah, I didn't pick up on that, John. It's a good point. I thought the shopping mall killing scene was pretty cool. Yeah, actually, the execution of that... Well, and that's the thing. A lot of the kills were good, too. This goes back to, legitimately, the practical effects look good. They did a great job with that. The woman was very sexy, but the sex scenes were not sexy. Oh, yeah. The romance scenes were... I mean, they just shouldn't even have been there, to be honest. Like, they were so anti-sexy, which they were meant to be sexy. They were like a turn off. Definitely. But good point. Great point. The art dealer was a terrible actor, but had an awesome death. Yeah, I totally agree, Kenny. But here's the thing. He was such a bad actor that he is a part that I look forward to in the film, because I laugh at his acting every time. I just love how bad it is. At the end, we see a dead Ben laughing to end the film. Yep. This movie felt like a time capsule. I don't think a movie like this could be made in that way. Nah, I mean, maybe not. I don't know, but crazy. Some of the practical effects were good, but the main demon just looked silly. I liked the way the main demon looked, to be honest. Although I could have done without the scene at the end where the crown of thorns is on her, and she's just like, it's like they're like overlaying the images of her and like making them go like that forever. It's such a long scene. It's crazy. Peter, I agree the actual demon just looked too much of a person wearing a costume. I liked it. But still enjoyed the overall vibe and unintentional comedy of the film. The unintentional comedy is the key. And it's a key to a lot of these 80s films. Not then, when it was put out, but now it's the key. And by the way, for people who have seen Troll 2, don't you think that her, like, psychiatrist or whoever that guy is, looks a little bit like Grandpa Seth from Troll 2? I think he does. Like, they look like brothers. The husband's name is Marjo Gortner. Yep. He was a reverend at the age of 4? Marjo is a combination of Mary and Joseph. Oh, got it. Yes, that last scene I thought we were being punked. It went on for too long. It went on for way too long, Uncle Pete. It was so painful. Like, I was loving the film because of how ridiculous it was until I got to that scene, and then it was annoying the crap out of me. And I'm like, can this film just be over now? Because I was just like, this is too much. Plus the noise, like the shrill noise that's going on during that is beyond headache inducing. It's terrible. I've never seen Troll 2. Feels like I'm missing out. It's an experience. And you don't need to see Troll 1 to see Troll 2. They're not related. Sounds odd, but they're not related. Troll 2 is... For the longest time, it was seen as like the quintessential awful film. Like the so amazing it's terrible. Or so terrible it's amazing film. So you should definitely see Troll 2. I've found films since that I like more, but I still really like Troll 2 for that reason. So if you have not seen it, it's a must. If you like So Terrible, they're good films. Which scene annoyed you? John, the scene that annoyed me was the crown of... Actually, it's on right now. It's happening. Where the crown of thorns goes on her, and it's like the overlaying of her two images, and it keeps moving. It just goes on forever, and like the shrill noise they have going on with it. That's so terrible. I can't watch it. Troll 2? Oh yeah, this is my type of party. Hey, Mr. Tightweight, what's up again? How you doing, man? I assume you have seen Troll 2 then. I'll watch Mausoleum again. Maybe I was being too harsh about the way the monster looked. No, probably not. I mean, it looks funky, but I don't know. I was just impressed that the movie is so terrible. For how terrible the movie is, I thought the demon looked good in comparison. You know what I mean? Like it exceeded my expectations based off what everything else in the film was. I'm back. My favorite part was the mall scene. I don't know if you guys talked about it yet. We briefly talked about it, so you can talk about it more if you want, Marshall. But yeah, the mall scene is fun. I also like the fact that they had the painting out still that she wants to buy, and they're like, oh no, that belongs to someone else already. Well, then why do you have it out for selling? It's ridiculous. Why is it on display? When someone buys it, you take it off the floor. I like watching those types. Yep. Love the first troll. The first troll's fun. Oh, by the way, Novasite, what's up? Welcome. Yeah, the first troll it's a good time. Yeah, we did. We made fun of the art dealer. We sure made fun of the art dealer. Watch it 4 times like John. I mean, I'm gonna end up watching Mausoleum more. I'm gonna introduce people to it. Troll 3 is not related at all as well. I love them all. Cool. I've actually not seen Troll 3. Mr. Tightwhite. I should check that out. Did you notice at the end when the doc and woman go into the mausoleum, it was night. When they left, it was day. Yeah, they were just there for a long time, right? The art dealer. Yeah, the art dealer, dude. That is the pinnacle of bad acting, the art dealer. And I love it. I thought the demon was great for what it was. So I'm actually contemplating buying Mausoleum on Blu-ray because I think Vinegar Syndrome owns it. I think you can buy it through Vinegar Syndrome. I'm going to verify that right now, though. I bought from Vinegar Syndrome a few times, and they have a pretty solid amount of like so awful they're great films. Like they have Demon Wind, dude. The Suckling, John. They have The Suckling. Spookies is another one that's on there. Alright, let me look for... Do they even have a friggin' search function on this? No? Come on, man. I'll just do it in a Google search. It'll be easier. Mausoleum... Vinegar Syndrome. Yep, Vinegar Syndrome. Yep. Okay, yep. The price is $22.99 through Vinegar Syndrome for Mausoleum Blu-ray. Yeah. Ooh, it's on sale right now, by the way. Normally $32.98, marked down to $22.99 for the Mausoleum Blu-ray through Vinegar Syndrome's website. They have 277 in stock. And look, here we go. Look at the cover art on that. Let's see if I can line it up right. Doesn't look bad. All right. I thought the demon was great for what it was. I agree, John. I thought so too. Come on, demon heads for breast. That was how the husband was killed. I mean, it was just an insane concept. And the fact that they're like dripping the fluorescent green goo, it's just like, it's this extra touch where you're just like, who thought of that and why? I mean, it's fine that it's there because it's like wacky, but it's like, who thought of it and why? It makes you question these things. I love how we're breaking down the mall scene. This is what makes these discussions fun. Totally, man. Getting geeky. Getting nerdy about this stuff. Oh, yeah. Totally, Uncle Pete. Mausoleum has an insane amount of rewatch value. You're going to notice new things each time. Troll 3 is Quest for the Mighty Sword. It sounds fun. I'm going to check that out. Oh, the demon heads tore the husband up. Yeah. Notice the husband's wounds look like the wounds on the ant. Serious chest wounds. Oh, I didn't notice that. I'll have to check that out. I'll have to watch it again, which I will. Felt kind of bad for the husband. He really cared for her, but still got wrecked at the end. Hey, that's what happens, man. Buy the Blu-ray 4 times. I don't think I'm going to do that, Marshall. That'd be very expensive. Unless I was planning on giving it to people as gifts, which yeah, I could. I do know enough people who would like it. Blu-ray purchase of this film would be nice to add to the collection. It would. Also, trust me, just buy Demon Wind. That's another one. And John will back it up. Buy The Suckling as well. I haven't watched it yet, but I have it, and I've heard good things. That it's ridiculous. Quest for the Mighty Sword, also known as Ator 3, The Hobgoblin, or Troll 3. It's 1990 Italian fantasy adventure, directed by Joe D'Amato, is the final film in the Ator series. Interesting. You know a lot about the Troll series. That's cool. Does the Blu-ray come with the bloody hand? I wish. LaWanda Page played Aunt Esther on Sanford and Son. Yeah. Kenny, you're going to rewatch it because us talking about it, it's getting you pretty excited, isn't it? Yeah. The first time I watched it, I knew nothing going into it. And then I recommended it to a friend. And then I was talking to him about it. And then I was like, that makes me want to watch it again. And then that's when I decided to make it one of the films for the live stream. So that I kind of like had a reason to watch it. So, yeah. Love it. Too fun. Yes, it's very confusing. It is confusing, Mr. Tightway. I like how the final shot was the gardener guy laughing, and then the music ballad at the end. So 80s. Yeah. Well, and then also let's talk about the fact that the opening credits of Mausoleum are awful. Like, it's the backdrop of a bunch of the gravestones, and then it's the names and, you know, what they did, like, just coming at the screen like this. Like, for 1983, that was an outdated method to do credits. Am I right? It was terrible. Like, that was the thing they would do in the 70s. There are a lot of things that felt very, like, 70s in this film that they, I don't know, it's just didn't make sense. They don't make them like they used to. Yeah, that is for sure, Kenny. Why was Ben trying to remove a stump with one axe? I know. The family was rich and couldn't afford a better method. Yeah, and that's part of the ridiculousness, John. And that's something I pointed out. My wife kind of watched it with me the last time I watched it. And I pointed that out to her. And I was like, watch how he's trying to get rid of the stump. He was just like half-heartedly just like throwing the axe on the stump. He wasn't even getting anywhere. It's like he was more trying to just pulverize it gradually because he was trying to just like milk his time there so that he could A, just get paid for longer, and B, keep making advances on the woman. But we see where that got him. It just seems like the new horror films are leaning too much on the supernatural side. More monster stuff would be nice once in a while. I agree with that, Kenny. I agree with that big time. I don't like ghost stuff typically, and I don't like haunted house things. I don't really like possession stuff. Like, a lot of those types of films are not my thing, and I feel like has become more of a popular way to go. I feel you. Like a cool new creature feature, I would love new creature feature. That said, I didn't love it, but I liked Crawl. I thought Crawl was a good new creature feature. Also, it's not like super super new, but newer. The film Ritual on Netflix, I thought had a really well designed creature in it. I love that. That's creepy as hell. I watch a ton of movies, but don't think I've seen Mausoleum. I may check it out after watching Host tonight. Oh, that double feature. That's a good double feature right there, Mr. Tightwhite. You'll enjoy Host. You will enjoy Mausoleum. Yeah, that Gardner montage. Can't get over that. Wouldn't expect that from a random character. Nope. It's awesome. Maybe the monster things requires too much CGI, so it's more expensive to make. Not sure. It depends. To be fair, he did say it was a stubborn stump. Nice, Heather. You're right. That is a fair statement. He did say that. Good point. Didn't catch that. Yeah. I watched The Invisible Man with my daughter and mom on my retro surround sound setup. We all loved the movie. Didn't like the husband actor, though. Yeah, like we were kind of talking earlier about it, that Elizabeth Moss actually did such a good job in that film that like it felt like she was the only person who mattered in it, really. So the guy who played Adrian was actually pretty forgettable anyway, for that reason. It's kind of like with The Dark Knight, the film The Dark Knight. Like, you don't even care that Christian Bale was Batman, or at some point people probably won't even remember that he was Batman in that film, because it's so focused on Heath Ledger's Joker and the amazing job that he does that you don't even care. You don't care that Christian Bale is there. You don't even care that Batman is in it. You also don't care when what's her name dies. Maggie Gyllenhaal's character when she dies. You didn't even care when she died. You're supposed to, but you didn't. She was so good. Yeah, Elizabeth Moss, very good at what she does. Mausoleum was the only movie made by Western International Pictures. Many say it was the movie was made to launder money. That's something that's been said about a few films over time. The really terrible movie The Room with Tommy Wiseau, people have said that about it. I don't think that was true, though. But that's something that gets floated out there for a bunch of bad movies. But it's interesting to know that Western International Pictures only did this film. I would say they're batting 100, though. They could have a resurrection. Let's go for it. Rachel. Okay. Sure. I don't even remember. It doesn't even matter to me. It's not something I pay attention to in that film. Alright. Does anyone have anything else on a Mausoleum? Good talk about it, though. Actually, we got way more talk out of Mausoleum than I thought we were going to, but I like it. Awesome. Film's over. Good runtime, too. It's like an hour and a half, basically. Doesn't seem like it's too much. Now, those are the types of possession films I can watch. Mausoleum. I like how he went to a very modern movie like Invisible Man to an early 80s horror flick. Hey, man. Change it up. I like all sorts of things. The executive producer can be seen on Fear City New York versus the Mafia Netflix docuseries. Really? Huh. That would, that would be worth looking into, methinks. Yes, very interesting contrast, Kenny. It's high concept, high budget versus unbelievably lowbrow concept, no budget, basically. Yeah, I liked our discussion on Mausoleum. We went pretty deep. Well, I mean, if you can really go deep on Mausoleum, I guess we kind of went as deep as we could. Give Mausoleum 4.5 demon breasts out of 5. 4. What would that half of a demon breast look like, though? Look a little weird. I guess there would be more of the green goo oozing out of it in that sense. Just trying to visualize 4.5 of them. Maybe if they do a sequel, it would be in there. Like it. Cool. So, let us go ahead and start talking about what do we want to do for the next stream. So, I said that I have some ideas. I started just like writing stuff down. I also have a list that we had already started. So I'll go through what I have on here. Let me know if there's anything that really stands out to you guys. And yeah. So dogs don't wear pants. I have that on there. We talked about that briefly. I recommended it to someone. I don't know if it was the last live stream or the one before that, but I think that's a phenomenal film. It's on Shudder. It's going to stay on Shudder, though, because it's like a Shudder exclusive, so we don't have to be in a hurry to watch it, but I would like to cover it at some point. It might be a little uncomfortable for some people because there's a lot of sexual content. It deals with like BDSM type stuff. So I don't know if that's too uncomfortable for people, but I think there's a really awesome story there, and it's worth watching and getting into, and there's a lot to unpack. There's definitely a lot discussion-wise for it. The other ones I have on here, the next one is actually the film that I said after seeing Mausoleum, I thought about it and really want to do this one for a live stream, The Mutilator. I don't know if anyone out there, any of you have seen The Mutilator, but that movie is a so bad it's great movie. It's a slasher. It's on Shudder at the moment, and I would like to do that at some point. Also put on their Turkey Shoot. That just ended up on there. It looks like a variation on the Most Dangerous Game. That's on Shudder at the moment. Tammy and the T-Rex. I don't know if that's still on there or not. I don't think it is, actually. We talked about doing The Thing, Old Boy, The Suckling, The Collector, which came up in discussion tonight. You're Next, Slender Man. I don't know who threw that out there. I'm not really interested in that, but if people wanted to. The Nightmare on Elm Street remake, someone threw out there. High Tension, Final Girls, Dude Bro Party Massacre 3, Daniel Isn't Real, Sorority Babes at Slyball Bolorama, Candyman, Annihilation. Oh, starting here are other ones that I just put down. Annihilation, The Wicker Man, the original Wicker Man, Splice, Incident in a Ghost Land. That one's brutal, but really good. Attack the Block, A Ghost Story, It Comes at Night, and The Witch. So, let's see what you guys are saying. Saw it on Shudder. The poster looks creepy. Would be interested to watch. Bondage. Wait, I didn't say that. I ordered House by the Edge of the Park on eBay because I couldn't find it on stream. It was Last House on the Left, but in the 70s. It was good, but doesn't have any rewatch value. Oh, that's good to know. The Mutilator had one, if not my favorite murder of all time. Nice, Mr. Tightwhite. I will say this about The Mutilator. This doesn't ruin anything, but for how bad that movie is, the final shot of the film is great. And I was like shocked and blown away when I first saw the movie, and I was like, oh, this movie's so bad, it's great, and I laughed at it. And then the final shot is like this crazy inspired awesome camera shot. It's nuts. Shaun of the Dead can be an entertaining choice. Oh, by the way, Mr. Tightweight, that might be what you're talking about. The thing in the end. Shaun of the Dead, yeah, John. I'll put it on the list, just in case. But yeah, Shaun of the Dead's a good one, if people want to do that. Shaun of the Dead, Simon Pegg was partially inspired by another film we'd already covered, Dead Alive by Peter Jackson, or Brain Dead. So many good choices, I know. Well, and that's the thing, I just want to keep a running list so we don't run out of good ideas for ones to do, because I definitely don't want to get to a point where we're doing a live stream and then I don't have any sort of list, and we're all just sitting here kind of like, I don't even know. Tucker and Dale versus Evil, oh yeah, it's another good choice. Yeah, it's a great film. I love that. My wife likes that too. I know I've said this before, but if people didn't hear it or you don't remember, if you like Tucker and Dale versus Evil, you need to watch the film Little Evil on Netflix. Same dude. I think it's like the same director who did Tucker and Dale. It's good. I said NOEM remake is a bad movie, but it's not good. Take it off. Okay, Marshall, I will. I'll take Nightmare on Elm Street remake off there. Because I wasn't excited about it anyway. Taking it off. It's going. It's out of here. Boom. I'd like to take Slender Man off too. But I don't want to take it off unless whoever told me to put it on there takes it off. Never liked Shaun. Really, Mr. Tightweight? You didn't like Shaun of the Dead? I like it. I think it's different. I think it's different based off when you've seen it. Did you see it around when it came out, or did you see it a bunch of years after? Because I feel like it kind of changed horror comedy in a way, and since it made that change to horror comedy, I think there's been a bunch of stuff that's come out that's better than it. So if you've seen that stuff that's better and then you saw Shaun of the Dead, it's very different that way. It's kind of like how I did not see the Blair Witch Project when it initially came out, and I saw a bunch of found footage films before I saw Blair Witch Project. Well, Blair Witch Project is where it all started. So if I had seen it back then, I would have understood the impact and how good it was back then. But since I watched a bunch of stuff that was inspired by it and better than it afterwards, and then I watched it, I didn't like it. So, just curious, though. Down for anything. I never cared for Shaun of the Dead. Tammy and the T-Rex is okay. Thank you, Christina. Tammy and the T-Rex is still on there. Cool. That one's fun. I dig it. Your audio cuts out sometime, like it's lagging a little. Yeah. Sorry, man. Internet. I think it's the internet connection that sometimes it's like a little too much to handle. Saw it in the theater. You guys like any of this Sean Astor films? You mean Sean Astin? I don't know. For a British horror comedy, Cockneys vs. Zombies. Cockneys vs. Zombies is good. That's one that people don't really talk about much, but I enjoy. And I think that's on Netflix. Let me put that down. Come on. Yeah, that's a good one. Can't decide if I liked Hereditary or Midsommar more. That's a tough one. I think I liked Hereditary more, but I like both of them quite a bit. Down for anything as well. Always down for one modern and one classic. Okay. Yeah, that's or modern-ish. Yeah, that seems good. Okay, so all right, so I'll go through the list and I'll tell you for each of my picks for the more modern one or more. This is how I like to break it up. The more serious one to talk about that's like a good film that we can deep dive on, and then one that's more like fluff that we can kind of just be like, oh, that's fun or ridiculous or, so bad it's good, whatever. So for the so bad it's a good choice, these are the ones that I would most be interested in for the next one. The Mutilator. Really want to do that at some point. Tammy and the T-Rex would also be a fun one. That would be a good time. I think, okay, those would be my top ones for that. But I also quite like Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Okay, I don't want to throw out too many options. Because if you guys are saying you're kind of down with whatever, I don't want to throw out too many options. It's just muddying the waters. Good horror movie to watch. Slitmouth Woman. Japanese with subtitles. I've heard about that film, John. I haven't seen it. I'd heard about it. Open to anything. Yeah, it seems like a good contrast. Okay. So, would you guys be down with doing the Mutilator for our, like, so bad it's good? Really feeling doing that one. Good with the Mutilator? Okay. Uncle Pete says down with Mutilator. It's a good one. It's a good one. John says good with it. Let me see how many people are actually in so I can get a good feel. Okay. Okay. Okay, Kenny down. Okay, got if one more per... Okay, there you go. Okay, got it. Okay, so we'll do the Mutilator. Okay, so now for the ones that we can kind of dive into a little bit more. There's one I really want to cover, but I need to see if it's still available. I think I had initially watched it on Hulu, but okay, so here are the ones, the more serious ones I really like to do. Dogs Don't Wear Pants. Like I already talked about that. I think Candyman would be a good time. Annihilation. That's another big one that I would really like to dive into. Incident in a Ghostland. Which, it's Pascal Laugier, the same guy who did Martyrs. So it's very brutal. It's very bleak. But it is a good film. It's quite good. And then also Attack the Block. That's just a fun, really good movie. And then I'll just throw out one more as an idea. It Comes at Night. I haven't seen It Comes at Night before. That's the only one on that list I haven't seen before, but it's an A24 film, and typically I like what they do. I've heard kind of some good, some bad about It Comes at Night. I think from what it sounds like, it's because people think it's going to be more horror than it actually ends up being. Kind of like what happened to Cabin in the Woods. Why the Cabin in the Woods didn't do well when it came out in theaters. People thought it was going to be a straight horror film, and it wasn't. And then they were like, well, that sucks. It didn't suck. It was good. I was looking forever for the film Pontypool and finally found it on Netflix DVD. Pontypool is solid. I'm going to put Pontypool on my list too. So, okay, so I found Annihilation on... So I'm finding it on Hulu, but it's one of those situations where it's like you can only watch it if you have the live TV version of Hulu. Because I have like the free version because I have Spotify. So I can't... But I can just get it through Netflix DVD to rewatch it. So no problem there. I'd love to watch Annihilation, Uncle Pete. That's a good lineup. Annihilation, what's it about? I would love to discuss all of them eventually. Yeah, and well, that's the idea. We'll just keep going until we discuss them all. So, Annihilation, it's got a sci-fi aspect to it. It's very Lovecraftian. Some of the themes, some of the ideas are kind of very akin to films like Color Out of Space and The Beach House, if you've seen either of those or both of them. It's very Lovecraft-inspired type stuff. But the concept is... this thing shows up on Earth called the Shimmer. And it's kind of like a bubble. And weird things happen inside of it with the flora and fauna. So they send in like a research team to figure out what's going on. And it's all women. And things get weird and dangerous. It has Natalie Portman in it. So it's like high budget film, but I watched it and I was like, I liked it a lot. I thought it was really good, and there's a lot to pick apart in that film. Annihilation's on Amazon Prime and Vudu. Perfect. And I don't have either of those, but I could easily just get it through Netflix DVD. No problem. The next film I have coming through Netflix DVD is The Hunt, by the way. So I will be watching that and doing a review of it. There are women with problems. Problems. Yeah. Yeah, John. There's a lot of personality conflict, which, that happens a lot in those films where it's like a group of people go somewhere to do a thing. There's always going to be personality conflicts. I watch Ex Machina, so I like the director. Oh, cool. Oh, Oscar Isaac is in it. I'll vote for that. Cool. So I'm interested to see Annihilation. Okay, so let's do that. Carlin, I know a channel called Moods616. Him and his buddies pick a year and watch as many horror movies as they can for that year. Then they podcast and rate and rank the films. Check out his channel. Ooh, that sounds really cool, actually. Thank you for that tip, Mr. Tightweight. Check that out. Ooh, The Hunt. Yeah, it's a fun watch. The trailer for The Hunt looked fun. I'm just kind of looking for a little bit of a movie that I can just like turn my brain off and just see some crazy stuff. Still need to watch Ex Machina. Yeah, I haven't seen Ex Machina either. I heard it's pretty solid. Main character's badass. Cool. Okay, so next live stream, I gotta give the date. I mean, it's in 2 Saturdays, but it is the 15th. Saturday, August 15th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as usual. We will do Annihilation and The Mutilator. I'm excited for that. That's a great lineup. It's a great lineup. It's going to be fun, once again. All right, you guys. Anything else? So we're getting close to the 2-hour mark. I usually like to cut it off about no later than 9. Adding it to the watch list. Yeah, I'm excited to do Annihilation and The Mutilator. It's going to be great. Real interested to see what you guys think of Annihilation. See if you like it and you can do something similar. Maybe able to help out. I have a channel too, but non-related to horror. Could be fun branching out. Yeah, maybe, Mr. Tightweight. I don't know about, like, time commitment wise. I'll have to take a look, though. Terrific live stream, guys. Had lots of fun. Yeah, definitely, Kenny. As usual, I don't think I've ever done one of these live streams and come to the end of it and been like, that could have been better, or I didn't have that much fun. It's fun. It's always fun talking horror with you guys. It's a great time. So thank you for being cool people. And the other thing is, thank you also for paying as much attention as you guys do to films, because not only does it make for great discussion, but it brings a lot of things to light that I happen to miss in the film. So I appreciate that. Yep, keep it brutal, everyone. A little bit of bias from me, but I enjoyed this live stream too. Got it, Mark. No, you're all good, Marshall. I did a podcast all. Oh, yes. Yeah, real quick, Uncle Pete. Uncle Pete was on a podcast. It was, you should listen to it. It's good. It's a good episode. Plus, then you can hear what Uncle Pete sounds like. And he'll tell you that he doesn't like the way his voice sounds, but I will verify there's nothing wrong with the way his voice sounds. It's just a common thing that people feel it's weird how their voice sounds when they hear it. Okay, Horror Timelines is what the podcast is called. Horror Timelines, the podcast, and he was episode 3, which is about bullying in horror. It's good. Definitely worth listening to. I listened to it. It's like half an hour, so it's a quick listen. Oh, Mr. Tightweight, you haven't seen Annihilation yet? Enjoy it. We're all entitled to our opinions. You got it, Kenny. Please check out Horror Timelines, episode 3. There it is. Check it out. Everybody share and thumb up the channel video. Definitely. Cool. Great time, you guys. Really, really appreciate it. Go watch some movies. Have fun the rest of your night. I'm going to watch some more hockey before I go to sleep. And I'm also going to play some Mario Kart with my wife and some friends. So that's going to be fun. But hope you guys have fun tonight. Thanks again. And keep it brutal. Till next time.